would all like a yacht. Heck,
Right.
we would like to have 10 yachts, but we can't afford them. So we understand that we can't. If you can't afford a bleeping baseball team, perhaps you don't own a baseball team.
That's really on them to figure out. Bring on new investors, ask Major League Baseball for help, but you originally agreed to this deal, and I understand that.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulysses Zambrano,
bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
Whether you're a diehard fan who vividly remembers Longo's Game 162 just like us,
or you remember the early Devil Ray days of Wade Boggs or Carl Crawford,
we are here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 6th season covering the Rays daily.
In every season that we've covered the team up till 2024, they've gone to the playoffs, but you can still grab your favorite Rays gear, settle in, and subscribe to our Locked On Rays YouTube channel and other podcast platforms. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase.
All right, Ulysses. Well, somebody has met required deadlines. The Tampa Bay Rays responded to a comment or a demand from Pinellas County Commission Chairperson Kathleen Peters for a clear answer on whether the Rays, intend to move forward with the deal or officially back out. So during the Thanksgiving holiday and I think a December 1st deadline of, hey, we want a response, the Rays did map out a response and sent it to her and the other commissioners and the county administrator. And there's a lot to unpack with that letter that was written, authored by Matt Silverman, the president of the Tampa Bay Rays.
And, excuse me, and if you haven't had a chance to read that letter, that's why we're here, baby. That's why we're here. We mostly want to do two things in this podcast, which is, number one, make you have a good time for 30 minutes or so, and number two, inform you. So those are the things that we aim to do every day, and we're going to do that today by getting started with this letter, Kevin.
Yes, I think that it is appropriate to read the letter in its entirety because a lot of times we may not get the full context of what is going on if we just look at Twitter or X or read a quick 500-word article and a couple quotes are parceled out. So figured it was only appropriate to do that. So without further ado, it is rather lengthy. So Ulysses and I will be doing some teamwork to break down this letter. I'll go first, acting as Matt Silverman. Dear Pinellas County Chairperson or Chairwoman Peters, I've already messed it up there. We are writing in response to your letter to Mr. Auld and myself dated November 25th, 2024. We disagree with the characterization of the conversation between Commissioner Scott and Brian Auld. The conversation primarily concerned the near-term challenges to our business given the impact or given the damage to Tropicana Field, as well as the dynamics related to the location of our home games in 2025. Brian Auld did not waver from our commitment to the new ballpark project. In that regard, it is worth correcting certain inaccurate comments made by Commissioner Latvala that our decision to play at Steinbrenner Field is inconsistent with the spirit of our new ballpark agreements. The new non-relocation agreement states that in the event of a force majeure that requires a temporary relocation, the team, quote, must use commercially reasonable, diligent, and good faith efforts to cause an alternate site at which team home games are played pursuant to Section 2.2C to be located in Pinellas County, Florida in the first instance, and if an alternate site is not available in Pinellas County, then Hillsborough County. In each case, taking into account the availability therein of an alternate site with sufficient seating capacity that complies with MLB rules and regulations in the need to obtain MLB approval to play at an alternate site. Our criteria and process for selecting Steinbrenner Field are fully consistent with the spirit of this agreement.
When it comes to honoring the spirit of the new ballpark agreements, it is Pinellas County's and not the Rays that falls short. At the November 19 meeting, Mr. Crowell indicated that when the Pinellas County Commission met in late October, he expected a simple up and down vote on the supplemental bond resolution and did not expect any type of delay. The item had been reviewed without debate at a workshop 5 days earlier. It was supposed to be a simple administrative action. While as a technical matter, under the agreements, there are longer outside dates for a variety of conditions to be satisfied, the Rays have always made it clear that the viability of the project depended on having certainty about the project's approval and funding prior to the 2024 November elections. The Rays were willing to advance the project for 2028 delivery, knowing that Pinellas County's final approval would take place before the elections. This part goes in bold, people. We would not have gone forward with the project if a future Pinellas County Commission had the ability to revoke the approval we all celebrated in July or to unilaterally delay the project's completion into 2029. In response to your question regarding the status of the various agreements, they are in effect until a party terminates or outside dates are reached. The Rays have fulfilled its obligations to date and continue to wait for decisions and actions by the city of St. Petersburg and Pinellas County. Sincerely, Matt Silverman, President, Tampa Bay Rays.
All right. There's a lot there. We have to unpack it. But before we do that, Ulysses, I think we need to tell the audience something very important.
My goodness, if this whole stadium saga had tickets for you to purchase and watch it in real time, guess what? There's one place you could do that, and that would be Game Time, because you could say, you know what? I want to be real close to Chairwoman Peters, and you would get that seat at Game Time. Or you know what? Hey, let me get real close to Brian Auld and Matt Silverman and see what these two pups are talking about. You could do that at Game Time. But if you don't want to do that, hey, guess what? You can go to a comedy theater, baseball games. You could do football games, whatever you want. Game Time has it, and they've got the Game Time guarantee, which means that you'll always get the best price. And they have job loss assurance, which means if you lose your job and you need a refund, Game Time has you covered. So today, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Kevin, I ask you one more thing. What time is it?
Game time. All right, Ulysses, let's discuss this letter a little bit. I know people out there had said that, oh, they're not going to be able to respond by then, Thanksgiving holiday. Well, I would assume that they would put something on paper. How hard is it to write, a page and a half over the course of a 4 or 5 day weekend, whatever it is. And with that, there were a lot of comments and statements made through that. What did you make of this?
I make it that it's a standoff. It's officially a standoff, and nobody wants to be the one that's responsible for making a project of millions and millions of dollars be the one responsible to say, you know what, no, we don't want it. So my first reaction is we are at a standoff. Nothing really happens here. It's nobody wants to move forward, and we should get a little bit of clarity coming up in 14 days. So in 2 weeks' time, on December 17th, Pinellas commissioners will meet to vote on the funding for the $312.5 million. So we could get some resolution then to see if they vote on them. Cool. Then they, like Colleen said, they would lock them in.
Right.
Hey, Now you say no. And I think even if I'm Latvala, even if I'm Eggers, or even if I'm the two new commissioners, like, man, like, let them say no. Let them say no.
Yes.
But I feel like it's a lot of posturing, it's a lot of politicking, and look, I think if you're watching this, I'm pretty sure you understand that Kevin and I really like baseball, really enjoy the game, really enjoy watching this organization, really root for this organization, and want the best things to come out of it. Having said that, we can still feel all of those things and still think the Rays are just not looking good at all out of this. Because, Kev, how is it possible that you are responsible legally for all the costs overruns, and the first misstep that happens, you're already saying, nope, way too expensive, can't do it? That's like if you're dating a woman and you go on a date and she goes, let's go to this restaurant, and then it's Burns, and you're like, well, I can't do that. Let's take Bay to McDonald's instead and get some chicken nuggets. Like, no, bro. Like, what kind of a man are you? What kind of an organization are you? What kind of a business are you running that you can't keep your word? And also, Kev, do you like yachts?
I do like yachts. I can't afford a yacht. I never will be able to afford a yacht. Stu Sternberg actually has told me on many occasions he's got a fleet of yachts, but that's just to make me jealous, I guess.
Of course he does. But you said there's something very interesting. You said, I like yachts, but I couldn't afford one, right? Well, guess what, Kev? We're in the same boat. And I think a lot of people that are watching Locked on Rays are on the same boat. We would all like a yacht. Heck, we would like to have 10 yachts, but we can't afford them. So we understand that we can't. If you can't afford a bleeping baseball team, perhaps you don't own a baseball team.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Hey, you're not rich enough. Hey, you might be rich enough to have 20 yachts. Good for you. But apparently Stu Sternberg and its organization and its shareholders are not rich enough to own a baseball team. So guess what? Sell it. Sell it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not rich enough, and that's okay, baby. Baby, that's okay. Not everybody can be rich to have a baseball team. That's okay. Right. But you're crying poor, and it looks bad.
It does look bad. And that's really on them to figure out. Bring on new investors, ask Major League Baseball for help, but you originally agreed to this deal. And I understand that there were some procedural rubber stamp outlines that, hey, we're gonna the county commission and city council are supposed to approve these bonds on these dates, but you might also have to have an alternative plan or idea that, hey, this is coming up during hurricane season, something may happen. You have to have contingencies in place for that. And I feel like delaying the bond vote for a couple weeks or even a couple months shouldn't totally upset the apple cart, and the Rays should it's on them to be able to figure that out, and they don't want to figure that out. Seemingly it looks like they want a new sweetheart deal, and they already have a pretty good deal outside of the cost overruns. I mean, they're getting a lot of public dollars for this project, plus you can't be they can't lose sight of the fact that if and hopefully when this deal goes forward, that you'll be making money hand over fist on the 65 acres of redevelopment. So take a temporary loss for a very, very big gain. And I think the Rays want to have their cake and eat it too, with the land and then getting a better deal or more money or a better agreement. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen. The deal that was approved in July, that's what we're going with. Ken Welch said it a couple weeks ago. We're not, putting forth another dollar towards this project. Now, maybe there's something else that can be worked out as far as revenues or some sort of legalese that could help the Rays in the interim. But it's the bonds. Get the bonds done, and then Rays, you gotta find something. You gotta find something to help pay for this thing.
Even the guy that staked his whole political reputation on it is saying, no more money, pal. Yeah. That's it. That's all you get. It does feel like they are just trying to squeeze as much of it as they can, and they're looking cheaper than usual. And it's not a good look. I ultimately don't. I still don't feel like we're in dire straits. I don't think that this means that the team is moving away or anything like that. I still am not in that way. I think they're just posturing and trying to get more money. The thing is, once we know how the bonds vote goes, then we can start talking about that. Because if it doesn't get approved, then you start looking at it as in, okay, well, maybe this is done, and essentially now. Because I know that they said the stadium is dead, like 2 weeks ago. And hey, guess what? In this letter, they go, it's still in effect. It's the hypocrisy, it's the non-transparency, and honestly, like Chairwoman Peters said, I think I had the her quote. She responded to Silverman's letter, by the way, in Saturday afternoon. She said, "While publicly the Rays organization has said that the deal is dead, the written statement is in contrast. Despite the Rays' lack of political prowess of late, I've always been optimistic about this project because of the great economic impact it could bring to our county." That's from Chairwoman Peters responding to Silverman's letter. Now, I do have to hand Chairwoman Peters just a lot of good kudos there, because that line there, despite the Rays' lack of political prowess of late, bravo, woman. That's
you could say a lot worse there.
Yeah, but it says so much. Like in the niceties of it, it's just says, despite the Rays' lack of political prowess of late. Like, yeah, you're building something with your hands, and then you're stomping on it with your feet.
Yeah.
Why?
It sucks what we're dealing with right now, but now it's literally on the county and the city council to get these bonds approved. And I guess the county could, so they're meeting on December 17th to vote on funding the $312.5 million share. I guess they could delay that even further. But I think St. Petersburg, they want to vote on it by November or January 9th. That's when they want to have it done. So I would think, I guess what has me a little bit concerned is that in the letter from Silverman, he throws a lot of shots. He disagrees with the characterization of the conversation between Brian Auld and Commissioner Scott.
Sure.
He says that Chris Litvala made inaccurate statements about the temporary relocation to Steinbrenner Field as opposed to playing at another venue in Pinellas County. He says that Pinellas County, quote unquote, falls short by delaying bonds and allowing new commissioners to vote on the matter, and that the Rays would not have gone forward with the project if a future county commission had the ability to revoke the project's approval or delay it even further. So that is 4 or 5 points there that is, pointing the barrel of the gun back at the commissioner and playing the blame game. And I feel like that won't go over well with the elected officials there.
No,
especially when we have that meeting a couple weeks from now.
But you know what? I will say, I think it's not a one-way street. Like I know I just got my
lambasted the Rays. Yes, I think both parties, in some respect, are here. Nobody is getting scot-free with all this.
No, they're not. And for example, one thing I take against, in the Rays' favor is you're going to be withholding bonds or withholding any kind of grudge because we're playing at Steinbrenner Field. Really? Yeah. Like, dude, you're also being short-sighted because again, the economic benefits of this whole stadium deal and housing, like if you just take housing, for example, for people in need. Like there's going to be, I think, Colleen, we talked about this with Colleen, 5,000, I believe, 5,000, at least 5,000 units would be available for that section of St. Pete citizens. And I think that alone save that.
Right.
If you're a St. Pete city council or council member, like the fact that they're moving for 1 year because the roof is gone.
Yes.
That should not. So it's not a one party to blame here. I think it's both. They're being short-sighted. They're being a little bit childish. They're not moving forward. It's the, when you're a kid and you're in the back seat of your parents' car and you're doing the whole like, I'm not poking you. I'm not poking you. I'm not poking you. It's this. It's the. But you guys are grown up. God bleeping men and women. Mm-hmm. Enough. You're not 7 years old on waiting for McDonald's drive-thru. Let's go.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's what started a lot of this. In addition to the multiple hurricanes that rampaged through the community or communities. But I think the Rays' lack of communication with their intent to play at Steinbrenner Field really irked off everybody. And the elected officials got like a half-hour heads up that, oh, okay, so they're playing at Steinbrenner Field after all. And the Rays were radio silent for so long. And I feel like if the Rays had just come to everybody early, made individual calls, sent emails, whatever it takes, utilize your political prowess and say, hey, we're really excited about this stadium deal. We are full go once the bonds are approved. But for 2025, we've evaluated Dunedin, we've evaluated Clearwater, talking to Major League Baseball. Everybody agrees that the best option is Hillsborough County for this 1 year, Steinbrenner Field for this 1 year, and then we'll get back on track. We would have loved to see the Trop be repaired in time, but that's not feasible at this point. We're looking forward to coming back in Tampa Bay after this short stay.
How does a team that is so smart on the field with their acquisitions can be so obtuse? What you just said in the last 67 seconds could have saved $1 billion deal. Like that's and you did not prepare that. That was off the dome because you're a smart bleeping guy. and everybody listening here agrees with that. Like you just have to have a little bit more communication. You just have to have a little bit more tact and understand that people have egos. And if people have egos, sometimes if you're I was going to say something, but it's too early in the day for that. If somebody has leverage on you,
right,
perhaps you don't let them squeeze the leverage. You try to appease them some way. And appeasing them in this case would have been, hey, this is unfortunate. But right now with MLBPA all over us, with MLB, and with the fact that, we have to take care of all of our players, we cannot right now play in Pinellas County, and we must play in Hillsborough County for this 1 year.
Almost just frame it as, we'd love to be in Pinellas County, but we're getting strong-armed by the Greater League and the Players Union that they're not going to go for it.
Exactly.
So we're in a pickle here. So give us this year, and then we'll figure things out moving forward. And I think that's kind of what threw this all off, because I remember there had been conversations and statements about how close that Chris Latvala and his family is to the Phillies and tied up with Clearwater. And that was his anchor that he was using. Like, I don't think he would have been happy if the Rays played elsewhere in St. Petersburg outside of the Clearwater facility.
Yeah, he would have been like, wait, the Blue Jays? Why the Blue Jays? Yeah. It would have been a whole other thing. But you know what's never another thing, Kevin, that would be annoying? If you go to FanDuel, bro.
That is true. That is a good point. FanDuel is the place to go. And why is that? Because you can tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, which is, if you didn't know already, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place those bets of yours. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com today to join. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, we put it out on social media. Did the Rays' response to Pinellas County's ultimatum make you feel better about the possibility of a new stadium project moving forward in St. Petersburg? Just 18% of the voters said, yes, it does make me more confident. It does make me feel better. 53% say no. And then another 29% are on the fence with an unsure answer there.
We didn't need this negativity to end the year, by the way.
I know.
I mean, we didn't. And now here we are. 53% say no.
You're ruining Christmas and Thanksgiving in the new year. Everything that's, I tell you what, if the county commission votes no or delays the bonds even further on December 17th, it is not going to be a fun family gathering if you're a Rays fan.
No, and you're going to, Thanksgiving already has that stereotype of people fighting for things that you don't even really need to fight for. Maybe this one is one that instead of fighting, people would just be kind of just sad around their fake fire, because I don't think a lot of people have actual chimneys in Tampa Bay. But yeah, man, we were so close.
I know.
Hey, and again, I'm not going to put all negative Nancy here. This could still come through. This could still come through, because if the Pinellas County votes on the bonds, then it's in the Rays, and the Rays literally just right now said the deal is in effect.
Lock them in. That's all you have to do. Lock them in. And if they renege or if they default, that's on them. And then you can figure out something else to do with the project in the historic gas plant district. I really think it comes down to as simple as that.
And you know what's the best thing about that is that if they lock the Rays in, they save face.
Yes.
Completely. It would be completely now on the Rays side to say no. And if they say no, and the reason is cost overruns are too much, or now supplies are going to be more expensive, inflation, whatever they want to say, usually it will go with money, tied back to money. And to be even more clear, to the lack of money that they do not have. So so they're basically saying, hey, we can't because we're too poor. We can't because we're too cheap. Like, they are the villain in this. So you can do that if you're the commission. You can put this all on them. And right now it's not. Right now it's 50-50. Yeah. So if you want to save face, you can lock in the bonds. And now it's on the Rays court to do something. And I think the Rays cannot cry poor if that were the case. Right. I think MLB would have to step in and say, either you'll go through with this or you sell.
Yeah. And what's interesting too, as I made an appearance on Lockdown MLB with our buddy Sully, and he brought up a unique point that, does MLB really want to have to deal with 2 franchise relocations and all the bad PR and bad taste that leaves between what's going on with the Athletics, and then you have this one as well? That's a lot that you're throwing out league wide. And maybe I'm totally off base here, but when a project comes in higher than expected, I don't know. And I know the Rays want to get everything that they can get. County and city wants to get everything that they can get, but there's a term called value engineering. So maybe those gold-plated splash guards that the Rays were planning to put in with the new stadium. I'm joking, of course, but I feel like there's certain areas and instances where you can possibly cut corners and then fix those corners once the stadium is up and running. So this is the pile of money that you have. Build the best stadium that you can for this amount of money. I don't know if it's not as many seats, little design here, little design there, and do whatever you have to do to, yes, keep it able to withstand a category 4, category 5, whatever it is, hurricane, but little bits and pieces to save money, but still get a new ballpark out and ready for play. That's my thought.
Well, let's see what MLB thinks. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we'll have that bond vote and we'll have a little bit more clarity. But this is where we are, people. A standoff, and guess what? You guys are enjoying the heck out of these stadium episodes. Yeah. We can see the numbers, and we thank you so much for tuning in. We thank you so much for supporting the pods. Thank you for hitting that like button. Thank you for subscribing to the pod. We're about to hit 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that is such a cool little number for us. Yes. We know we're in a small market, so if you look at Locked On Yankees and all whatever, like they have a lot of more subscribers than we do, but we understand the market that we're playing in, and so almost about to get to 2,000 subscribers would be really special for Kevin and I. So thank you guys.
Yes. Hit that like, subscribe button, all that. We appreciate it. And later on this week, I don't think every episode will be about stadium impasse. We might have Evan Klosky on or another guest on later this week, but we'll actually try to get into some on-field happenings and occurrences as well. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.